Welcome back, everybody, to Dan and Tim's journey through the MCU. We've made it to the shows. We covered Black Widow last week. We opted to do the shows after they ran, but after all three shows were done.
Yeah.
Not that it's all that Disney Plus is offering, but it's a break between everything. And they're all setting up something big. And so why not start with the first one? We decided to start with Wandavision. It was my, in total, I think, third rewatch of the series, because when we were doing No Coast Defenders, I was doing them at least two times an episode, two watches an episode. So when we were going week by week, and then I watched this, I was texting you throughout. I think I watched it in like a day.
Yeah, you were.
it was really enjoyable. And, as we had done in the past, and folks won't know this from any posts, but we're going to put together another giveaway for the people watching at home, a small one. Based on the three shows or something like that, maybe.
Yep.
And we're going to do a giveaway based on the comments we get. And so we did get some comments. I wanted to know everybody's favorite moments from WandaVision, and as expected, certain people hated it, certain people loved it. Some people got really into it. Eric Marshall and Dan Cater, their favorite part was the end credits.
It seems like all three of these shows have been pretty polarizing.
Yeah, it's very divisive. You either love it or hate it, and that's quite interesting. Yeah. Jeremy Newton said that it was his favorite MCU show, and how great it is shown by the 23 Emmy nominations, which
true that
a show of this gravity that was so short, to take that away, from the MCU and Disney Plus show, like every component of that, and to come away with that many nominations. Now, I don't get all caught up in award season and things like that, but that's just a testament to how respected that is now. And
yeah,
we're not too far removed from big time directors shitting on the MCU and saying it's not real movies and all that stuff. So props to them. Jeanette said the part where she put the boys to bed and said, "Thanks for choosing me to be your mom," really got her.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah, I love that scene. This show as a whole, I'm going to talk about it later, but all the emotions, like seriously in this show. Sam George also agreed with Jeanette. And he actually just watched it around the same time we were. So he hadn't seen the series yet. And so this is fresh for him. And he got that same part. Now, Joe Dilcox, and by the way, congrats on the nuptials of getting married recently. He gave us a nice breakdown. He said Agatha all along was obviously a big highlight. What is grief if not love persevering? Every theme song he thought was perfect and fit well. The costumes. They didn't feel the need to be something bigger than it was, which, I remember shitting on it for that when we were watching it the first time through. But when you get to rally through them all, man, it's so different for me. The changing sitcom tropes, the tie back to Ultron, kind of where it all started. So making it feel like that had a purpose. It wasn't a great movie, but it gave it more weight than it had before, is what he said. And I agree with that, actually. Yeah. And then he pointed out the chemistry between everybody. And we talked about that on No Coast too, just how great the chemistry was there. Patrick McDaniels just said, agreed with Joe. And Colin Schrader said, Evan Peters, Quicksilver in the Halloween episode. Quicksilver one was a fun thing. Yeah. Corey Banker loved the new costume. Paul Brunner said the whole show is Vision's talk with Vision. The whole show that had Vision's talk with Vision about the ship of Theseus. And then the card trick, which I'm just going to spoil it now. The card trick is probably my favorite thing that happened on any of these three shows, just to be honest. I absolutely love that.
Oh, the continuity.
Yes. Nate James said the end where absolute havoc was taking place. Melissa Jean, she said, every time I knew what sitcom they were copying, I absolutely loved watching it. And then Sam George also loved the fact that she did the whole fight in sweats. He said, big power move right there. Totally agree. Aaron Kidd said, I've been feeling weirdy all day. Gummed up Vision was the best. And Brian McBride ended us with, there's a lot of introduction characters, and Agatha Harkness, White Vision, X-Men Quicksilver, his favorite series so far. So started with a lot of love, ended with a lot of hate, and a little bit of everything in between. So it was cool to see. I love the responses. We all form different connections to these shows, to these movies. Mm-hmm. We have different responses, and it's interesting to see what other fans have, especially as many of the same fans have commented on our things. And so seeing what they like, what they don't, and see if there's a pattern there. So really fun responses. I'm glad folks got into it with us. And now it's time for ours, Tim. And
Yeah,
I don't want to beat around the bush, man. What worked for this show? What worked for you with WandaVision?
I don't know. You tell me if you don't want to beat around the bush. I want you to go first.
Oh, then I can't dissect what you say. No. Um, to be honest, I just love the casting. I think that uh, everybody was the exact role they should have been, and it was played very well.
Yeah.
I,
Mhm.
Catherine Hahn is just such a godsend to us. I know that she wasn't
Yeah.
the star of the show, but man, did she steal every scene she was in. Um, Monica Rambeau, I would have loved more.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to get more of that character in the future. I really, and I was texting you about this during my rewatch. Paul Bettany, like just in a show where it's about him, but it's not about him, and where he doesn't need to steal every scene. His subtleties just steal every moment. And God, I just love it so much. It grew on me every time I watched it. So I just, I've been pretty negative about all the Marvel stuff recently, but man, just the performances in this show were absolutely spot on. Elizabeth Olsen, who
Yeah.
I wasn't keen on Scarlet Witch, her portrayal of Scarlet Witch throughout a lot of it, and I came to realize I think a lot of that was the writing, not the acting.
Mhm.
Because man, did she deliver! I think it was smart. A lot of people had they didn't enjoy the TV show tropes. They didn't enjoy that angle of bringing out this character. But man, when they pull it all together, just how magical is that?
Yeah.
Obviously, that fight scene, Vision versus Vision, um, all of that was just wild to me. So I think that the story has a lot of heart. And, you get the stages of grief going through this whole thing and you feel it. And um, just all the zany stuff that happened and they're 30-minute episodes and
Yeah.
somehow it felt like you watched a movie after each episode, especially those last three. So I think personally, I think it is the best of the three shows thus far.
Yeah.
The writing was on point. I'll get to what I didn't like about the writing, and what didn't work for me, but I don't want to steal all your thunder here. So what did you like, Tim?
Okay. Well, no thunder stolen here. I agree with so much of what you said. Yeah, just touching on Paul Bettany real quick. Paul Bettany, oh my lord, he played into those sitcom tropes just so well, and his inflection, the way he delivers his lines too, is just impeccable. Um, and it was really something when I think it was the I want to say the fifth or sixth episode where he actually gets into that like fight with Wanda,
Oh,
and they both lift off the ground. Like that was the first time you ever hear Vision mad, and
that moment for me right there, that felt like the realest moment we'd had in the MCU thus
yeah,
far. When that happened, I took a step back and I was like, this is like the most real they've gotten anything.
ironic since they're in a world that's completely not real.
Yeah.
Well, real but not real, and more of the standout performances. I thought the boys did a phenomenal job as Tommy and Billy. Um, they, I don't think they get enough credit, especially as child actors.
Yeah.
And obviously Catherine Hahn, but there is a little bit of a negative attached to that as well that I already talked to you about, and I'm eager to talk to the audience about as well. And just props to the more most of my props tonight have to go to the technical team. Not so much on the actors as much this time around because like their attention to detail to get all the effects right and um and all the attention to detail that they did in bringing these sitcoms to life and to have them just be absolutely spot on to what they would be in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s.
Mm.
And also to the score. not only the score, but whoever helped write and record those the intros.
Yeah.
Like, come on, the Modern Family and The Office one for the '90s, that was, or maybe it was the 2010s. Just absolutely nailed it, and that's all I could say to myself watching this the second time through is they just nailed everything. And yeah, I do agree in terms of Monica. I wish we did get a little bit more. I know we got a small like snippet to her powers, but I really hope they flesh those out a bit more going into the Marvels. And trying to think of if I'm forgetting anything. Nope, no, that pretty much does it.
Yeah, I mean it's a good testament to how great the show
Pretty,
was.
yeah,
Where
pretty all encompassing.
we didn't have to start off with there's so much I didn't like, but this was great. Like we have done. It's
Yeah,
just you can start off with a bang with this show, and I think at first watch with that first episode, it was hard to digest because it was like, what the hell are they doing?
yeah.
Um, and as it went on, man, I gotta say, just watching it as a binge as opposed to week to week is just such a better experience for me. But um,
It's definitely a different. It definitely turned out to be a different experience for me. Um, I felt like some of the early magic, no pun intended, was lost a little bit because it was consecutive
mhm.
instead of you not having that week to just wonder and um, just have your mind clouded with Mephisto. And
I think I drove myself crazy during that
so
series.
I think as much as people didn't enjoy that week wait, I felt it was entirely necessary watching this a second time around because that speculation is more of a big deal and a bigger part of this than people realize.
Mhm. I think a lot of it for me, I ruined the show for myself by trying to predict what was going to happen next instead of just accepting what they were giving me. It's
Yeah, you can drive yourself crazy
yeah,
as all three of us, you, me, and Greg did on the
yeah.
podcast, and how many times do we end up being right? At least with this show,
I
not
don't think I was
very.
worried about anything.
Yeah,
Um, so as we dive into things that didn't work for me, I didn't like that I wasn't right about everything. No, I'm kidding. What didn't work for me, I wanted more Monica. There is
yeah,
where the scene where her and Mr. Boner are just called up in the room and she's doing
yeah,
nothing. Very a lot of moments of inaction for her, and
yeah,
I get that they needed to introduce her for her to be existing down the road. I just felt like she was kind of wasted in this show, and I actually
mhm,
think that about Randall Park and Kat Dennings in this show too. There was so much promise for
yeah,
those two characters together. The chemistry was absolutely freaking amazing between them to the point where I want a spin off of just them. I don't even care what they're doing. They could just be reviewing
yeah,
ice cream shops across America. I want the two of them to do a show together.
yeah.
I feel like they're very underutilized, but at the same time, the show's not about them.
Right.
My biggest gripe, and I think, and we're probably gonna be the same, but it's what's in my notes was the actual development of Agatha. The reveal of it is Agatha all along, cool, but the stories they gave her for how she got where she is, and a little patchy to me. I don't think it was intentional enough, but I also, she was in this grave situation needing this, and it was way more cheeky than it should have been. Um,
Yeah.
no, I didn't want, an episode and a half of origin story. I just feel like it probably could have been done better 5 to 10 minutes with a better explanation of what was happening.
Yeah.
And the fact that she played the shit out of it, so that was the least of my worries,
Yeah.
um, just as a testament to her as an actor. But that was really it for me. There wasn't a lot that didn't work. Uh, I like that they, it was a show about mind control, and they, in a lot of ways, and they controlled our minds week to week with what are they going to do next and what's coming. And, they really,
Yeah.
in many ways, played with that aspect, and they knew it too, especially, for the interviews they gave during it and everything else from the studio. So those are my biggest gripes.
Yeah.
It would be nitpicky to find anything else really. Um, I think it tied a lot of stuff together in so many ways that even through my first watch, I didn't quite catch. And so, yeah, that was my main dislike for the show. I mean, it's for once I'm being positive.
Yeah. Well, before I get into my negatives, one thing I forgot to mention about the positives is I have to agree with Paul. That scene with the two visions in the library discussing the Book of Theseus um, was probably my favorite moment from the show. That very like mysterious, soft score that was happening behind it as they were, very softly like rotating around the middle. Oh my god, just give me more of that. I did mention to you that there wasn't anything about White Vision that I didn't enjoy, um, which leads me into the negatives. Again, aren't that many? I did think the writing for Agatha was a little weak. Um, just her writing. The setup was okay the first time around, or the second time around. Um, it was patchy. It was a little confusing, and it seemed a little too cheesy. I wish once they got into the real beef of the climax and the fights between two witches, the two visions. I wish they would have dialed down the campiness a little bit and just show that it's more grounded and more of a grave threat. Really, there's nothing like it's good to have a little bit of humor in these kind of fight scenes, but there's nothing that takes me out um, of suspense more than too much humor. And this was really um, riding that line, like in the town square when Agatha had like the dark hold and released all the townspeople from the control.
Mhm.
I got some real hardcore like um what's his name, Spider-Man 3 Eddie Brock feels
Mhm.
like that kind of like just very very campy humor, like when she leans in and whispers, "That's the Book of the Damned." It's just didn't do it for me. But I'm not gonna get too hung up on this. The biggest gripe that I had was anything that happened outside of the hex, and specifically Hayward. I have never seen a more useless um, villain. I don't know if he even is a villain. He wasn't all that threatening. Um,
He was kind of
his
just a
right,
dickhead.
yeah, his writing was awful. I felt like his character turned too hard on a dime, um, to moving into that dickhead territory,
Mhm.
and like they didn't contribute jack shit besides White Vision to bring him into the mix. And I'm gonna have to disagree with you, and I don't know how much flack I'm gonna get for this. I don't like Jimmy Woo.
Oh
um,
man.
I like him as I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what it is, but it's not that I find him insufferable. He's just not my jam.
Not your Jim.
No, no, not my Asian Jim. Um, but yeah, it just couldn't keep my attention even the second time around, and it just wanted me begging for more in the hex.
Mhm.
Um, Darcy was okay. Usually, I like her in the show or in the movies, but um, it all comes down to the writing. I'm
Yeah.
finding out.
They almost
Just
seem very
yeah,
insignificant in their roles in this.
yeah,
And then they
and
were just kind of, it's almost, when you watch it, it's like they're
yeah,
the old men in the balcony of the Muppets, they're just kind of watching everybody,
yeah,
let everybody and, having popcorn. And, um, which is,
yeah.
that's why it was a drawback for me. They had a lot of potential and it was just wasted.
And I'm left curious if we're actually going to see Hayward again, or if we're even going to see Sword again, which I'm sure we will. I'm sure we will with Secret Invasion coming. Um, but who knows?
It's interesting from a speculation point because if you look at the market on those comic books, they dove huge, big
Yeah,
drop in selling price. And usually the market's not wrong about a lot of this stuff. Besides Mephisto, they were awful on that. But so that made me wonder if we're just really not going to see much Sword, if they're very inconsequential, and if we're maybe going to see the resurgence of Shield or something like that moving forward.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I was surprised to see that, like, besides in Winter Soldier, even Shield was lying low in the MCU as hard as it was.
yeah.
Specifically, its conflict with Hydra. So yeah, that's where I'm standing on Sword right now. Is that we're probably not going to see it all too much as an organization.
And that leads us into our next portion here. What's next, Tim? What this set up?
Oh, obviously Doctor Strange too. I got talking. Me and my new boss at work. We could sit there all like for half of our meetings talking about Marvel and beyond. But I was telling him either today or the other day that like I don't know. I'm still up in the air with how Wanda will be involved, if she's actually going to become a villain in herself, because I know we have Mordo coming in too, and Lord forbid we have another Spider-Man 3 where we have too many villains, but what I can picture happening is we get to be on the threshold of Wanda becoming that harbinger of chaos and doom that Agatha predicts and is foretold. But I feel like Wanda's character as herself will kind of keep her from going over that edge. But at the same time, her motivations are strong because now you have a set up connection with like how she feels about, obviously the boys and Vision, and like she's so desperate to hold on to what she has that I feel like going into this next movie, she's gonna be even more determined to do what it takes.
Well, the interesting thing is you talk about that, and then there might be some balance because Kevin Feige has confirmed that Catherine Hahn will be back.
Yeah.
And so I'm wondering if round 2 really explores that, and if maybe the roles are even reversed.
No, because she said you're gonna need me.
Yeah.
And so I think if she does come back, it's gonna be more in that mentor role that Agatha takes, like in the comics. But Vision, I have no idea where the hell this is going. He just kind of like, but he just bounced out of that library, and who knows where he'll end up. Because of the whole sentient weapon thing, he might even show up in Armor Wars. Bit of a stretch, but it's Marvel. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, and Paul Bettany has said he wants to play this role for life. So if there's and you know what, why not even just give him another character? Let him just keep playing different characters that are all machines. Like, why the hell not? In terms of what it sets up, we know that it sets up Doctor Strange 2. We know that it probably has a lot to play with. The next Spider-Man, things like that. But I also feel, and I've just had this feeling for a while, that it's setting up a Young Avengers too. The kids obviously still exist in some universe. We heard them at the end.
Yeah.
It set that up good, and I think, in some ways with the technology and the cameos we're seeing here, I think it could have also, in a vague way, led to like some Thunderbolts talk. So I think that there are many minor things that it could have set up in a major way. But it was also the first time that they toyed with X-Men stuff in some ways, and so. No, I don't think this is going to lead to the X-Men, but I think it shows their willingness to see what works in the introduction as opposed to giving us an all-out new X-Men film with origins and all that stuff. Maybe they can just play their own characters. So, that's kind of the out-of-the-box stuff that I saw it setting up outside of what we're going to get. I really am curious about what version of Wanda we're going to have now, and where she is in her headspace, and also what the implications of what happened in Loki will be for there, in this different universe. As I like to say, there's a lot of time fuckery occurring, and It's hard to predict much other than we will see certain characters again. And
Oh yeah.
I got to be honest, I'm most excited moving forward about Tiana Paris. She is such a badass.
Yeah.
I hope we see her, in some of the shows too.
I'm so excited to see what went wrong between her and Carol.
Oh God, I know. I am so
Yeah.
pumped for that. I just, I know I've said it this whole time. I want the Marvels to introduce Rogue and Mystique, all that stuff,
Yeah.
like comic books. But oh my God, if it's just her battling Danvers like the whole time, I'm game for that too. Because
Yeah.
the face game on Tiana Paris just steals every scene. Her facial expressions are so
Mhm.
on point. She commands
Yeah.
the scene she's in, even with these, more established actors. And she's
Yeah.
just so awesome. And hearing her talk about playing that character, it just has me so excited. It's my house is a Captain Marvel's love fest for, when it comes to the comics and all that stuff. So
Yeah.
we already went over the movie crap, but
Well, I'm very thankful. I never thought I'd be saying this. I'm very thankful for Captain Marvel for setting up the relationship between Carol and Monica when she was a child.
yeah,
that definitely made those shocking moments when she kind of like winced at the mere mention of her.
yeah.
Made that all that more shocking. And yeah, it had a strange effect on me. It was very, very subtle, very not in your face, but yeah, it's taken a hold of me.
Can I just say I'm pumped to see Monica and Kamala on the same screen? Like I'm so excited for that.
Yeah.
So that's our preview of what's next. And next week we're going to be talking about the excellent run that was Falcon and Winter Soldier. And man, what a fun run that was. But I think it's going to be interesting to see where we end up with all of this. And I want to review these before we do our video on upcoming movies to see if any of these implications are correct. You had a nice winner at the end of Loki there, so I want to see if your streak continues for your predictions here. Anything else to touch on for WandaVision here?
No, nothing's come to mind.
I have one thing to say, which I'm going to do it in the shout outs. So before I get there, do you have any shout outs this week, my friend, before we sign off for our first of the 3 Disney Plus shows?
Oh, sure. As always, my girlfriend, Jeanette, she actually just made affiliate on Twitch. So any support would be much appreciated. Go check her out on Twitch, twitch.com/jplaysok. That's just okay, not okay, or I'm sorry. Yeah, OKAY. Not that, just okay. And just go ahead and subscribe or give her a follow. Any little bit helps. As always, the great Gary B, the casual comic guy. And also check out our podcast that we do with our friend Greg Dilcox. I almost lost the name there for a second. No Coast Defenders on Spotify and YouTube when you search Cool Points TV.
Yes, and I always know that when Jeanette is streaming, my phone will be gone because Zoe has it because she's watching her. My shout out this week is for an artist who as I look around my house, I have a lot of art that he has done. And this one is very fitting this week. Given the show that
wow.
This is from the very talented Robert Bruno. He does a lot of oil work. And all his prints are limited. And he's just an awesome artist. You can message him and he gets right back to you. Quick shipping, but again, let me show you the talent this man has. He did one for every show.
God. Yeah. Wow.
In my living room. I just got the frame in today. Beyond excited. I have one for next week as well. And super, super talented. So many options on his site. It's not just Marvel. He does sports, music. He did a Prince one that I just got that I've got a frame that I'm ecstatic about. So hit him up at Robert Bruno. It's Bruno Illustration. And I will actually be tagging him in this video. And he has no idea I'm doing it. I just love his art so much. And so I'm going to surprise him with a shout out. And on top of that, just support your local comic shops, support your local coffee
Yep.
shops, support whatever local businesses you can as they bounce back. They don't have the help they need yet, but they're still trying to stay afloat. Just support them the best you can. Tim, my friend,
Dan.
it's been
Also
a
my
wonderful journey so far. We have much, much more to go.
Yeah.
And I look forward to discussing Falcon and the Winter Soldier next week. It was a
Ooh,
little
I
less fun, but a lot more interesting in many ways. So
Can't wait.
really looking forward to it. So Tim,
Me
until we
too.
meet again.
I can't.